The world completely shifted in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of these shifts we wouldn't even have anticipated in our wildest dreams. Businesses and industries were on the decline, and the fishing industry in the UK took the biggest hit. For one fishing family, social media was the key to changing things. It eventually became what saved them from some devastating consequences. Let's get into this. First up, how social media saved a fishing family from Cumbria. The McAvoys are a fishing family in West Cumbria in Maryport. The local family business was known as Silver Fern Fresh Fish, but they changed their name recently to Charisma Fresh Fish after their new boat. The McAvoys have been in the fishing business for generations now. Brill, prawns, skate, you name it. This fishing family brings it all to the quayside in Maryport, where they are known for their great business. They also sell plaice, Dover sole, monkfish, whelks, John Dory, and gurnard. So if you like eating fish, they've pretty much got you covered. Things have changed quite a bit over time in the fishing industry, according to John McAvoy, the main man of Charisma Fresh Fish. People rarely wanted langoustines, which have a lot of spikes and hard shells. Now though, people in Spain and other places in Europe are willing to pay well over £50 for 1 kilogram. Before COVID, things were going great for Charisma Fresh Fish. They were importing to countries all over Europe, and things were looking up when things came to a very sudden halt with shipping and trading routes blocked. There was no way to reach customers who wanted to buy fish. Seafood buyers all over France and Spain stopped operations. Restaurants were shutting down, and Charisma Fresh Fish might have completely disappeared if not for social media. John's daughters decided that a social media page was the way to go, and they were right. Followed by What Really Happened. In an exclusive interview with Francesca Williams from BBC, John McAvoy talked about how his family was helped because of the power of social media. John's daughter Amy, who's 25 right now, said that she started the Facebook page from scratch and started encouraging friends and family to share the posts uploaded on the group. Eventually, it was word of mouth through social media that brought in customers. Charisma Fresh Fish wasn't selling and importing fish abroad anymore during COVID, but they were selling directly to individual customers who patiently waited days for fresh fish and prawns. No more middlemen were involved. The customers were queuing every day for fresh fish, which ended up proving a lot more stable than the fickle fish market, where things are changing every day. Prices often change with the tide in this scenario, and you never know which fish will sell for more or less because of how scarce or plentiful it is. Social media gave the McAvoys a platform to communicate directly with their customers, and they had a guaranteed, stable source of revenue. Really, it's amazing the power that social media has. Even though they started the Facebook page during COVID, it's still going strong with over 5,000 members who await updates every single day. Next up, what Charisma Fresh Fish looks like now. Amy McAvoy started the Facebook page, not expecting it to blow up as much as it did. Slowly though, through friends and family, people started joining the groups, and eventually, they started queuing to buy the fresh fish that John McAvoy was catching every other day or so. Amy posts when the boat, called Charisma, leaves the harbor and when it's coming back. The members on Facebook are notified with pictures of the fresh fish in the boat. This whole thing worked out perfectly for the customers as well as the McAvoys because they didn't have to worry about middlemen. The customers didn't have to fear that the fish would be old and stale, and they were getting it for cheaper than the supermarket fish. As for the McAvoys, their family business, which had been alive for generations, was finally saved. A perfect win-win situation. Followed by the UK fishing industry post-pandemic. COVID restrictions were never consistent through the years of the pandemic. Countries would ease restrictions and loosen them. In 2021, there were many lockdowns, and this affected the seafood trade all throughout the EU and Britain. This led to trade rules changing as well. Things were so bad that the UK government announced that £23 million would be allocated to reviving and helping seafood exporters. The market conditions were depressed, to put it simply, and the government was desperate to somehow revive it. The McAvoys, who mainly export fish, were just one of the local businesses that were suffering due to COVID and the restrictions because of it. But John McAvoy also mentioned how things have changed in a few good ways too. The 53-year-old says that now people are opening up to trying new fish, something that they normally wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. For example, he said people have never tried anglerfish or monkfish or John Dory because they considered it to be high-end. Now that exports were at a standstill, Charisma Fresh Fish had more to sell to customers at the quayside. During the peak of the pandemic, the public was getting to choose first instead of the markets. After the customers get their pick, the rest went off to the markets to sell. Moving on to what things look like now. It seems like the world is back to its normal pre-pandemic ways. Charisma Fresh Fish has gone back to selling in markets. However, there are a lot of things that have changed. In the interview with the BBC reporter, John McAvoy said that things still aren't the same. There are a lot of quotas and duties that fishermen have to pay, and even though the government said things would change, they haven't. Quotas were supposed to be reduced for foreign boats in British waters and increased for British fishing boats. And even though many things of the sort were promised, nothing has really materialized. Of course, now they've started to export again, but things are still not the same as pre-COVID and pre-Brexit. Up next, a special customer for Charisma Fresh Fish. Even though the McAvoys were supposed to sell on social media only as a temporary thing for as long as COVID lasted, they received an overwhelming response. Things have gone back to normal for the most part, but this fishing family has decided to keep selling directly to customers in addition to selling to marketplaces. One particular customer, called Graham Elsby, is from Crosby, Merseyside, and has visited the McAvoys for a long time for fresh fish. He doesn't travel 140 miles just for this fish, but said that whenever he's in Lorton to visit his caravan, he makes sure to visit John McAvoy. He said that he's been keeping up with the Facebook page and gets excited when he sees the notification of seeing the boat back in the harbor. According to Graham, the fish that you get in the supermarkets just isn't the same. The way he differentiates fresh fish and the supermarket is from the eyes. The fish in the supermarket has dead eyes, whereas the ones that you get from the quayside tell a story. People who are interested in buying the best quality fish in this day and age are rare, and very special customers of the McAvoys. It's great to see local businesses being promoted this way. Now, let's move on to some other news. First up, a company from Cardigan Bay becomes the first to catch bluefin tuna. Barely any companies from Cardigan Bay have been allowed to catch bluefin tuna, but now one has been granted permission. These fish are huge, with some of them weighing over 1,000 pounds, and are also migratory. They travel all the way from the Mediterranean to Scandinavia. Recreational fishing for this specific species has been prohibited for the longest time. Let's hope that this one company gets the pass and doesn't endanger the species. Next, a fishing crew was just rescued off of Fair Isle. The fishing vessel's crew abandoned their ship after it collided with another vessel. There were 8 men aboard in total. The Coast Guard was alerted just a few hours later that Guiding Star was in trouble about 75 kilometers from Fair Isle. Out of the 8 men, 3 were taken to Shetland by air, and the rest boarded the sister vessel to be taken to Peterhead. The MAIB is also starting to investigate the collusion in order to improve safety and prevent the same thing from happening again. Finally, 2 men from Staffordshire were just found guilty of fishing illegally. One is Steve Gibbons from Stoke-on-Trent, who was caught fishing without a license in May 2022 in Markhamley Pool, Hodnet, in Shropshire. The other man is known as Jason Palmer and was found guilty of the same thing, fishing without a license at Pishton Pools, Rugeley, Staffordshire. The 2 will be paying a penalty of £389 to the Environmental Agency. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think about Charisma Fresh Fish and its survival strategy against the pandemic? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.